What's up, my people? Welcome back to Vertical Football. Welcome back to another episode of Fans Corner. I'm your host, Shegun. Guys, Manchester United fans, I think I never thought I would be here to do this kind of video. For me, I never saw the need to do it. But I feel based on the reactions from fans, from legends, even from the media after the draw against Fulham, I just felt it's important for me to do this video. And I want to be very, very brutally honest about what I'm seeing currently around Manchester United, what I'm seeing currently in and out of the club, with the players, with the manager, with the board and everything. I feel it's very, very important that we try to set the record straight. I think it's very, very important we set the record straight. And I know some things I'm going to say will not sit well with some people, even some Manchester United fans. But the goal of me recording this is not to make you happy. The goal of it is not to be liked. The goal of it is to just set the record straight in the sense of this is what I see. And this is my opinion, clearly, but this is what I see, about Manchester United currently. So guys, let's go right into it. I want to take it step by step. First of all, I think it's very, very important to set the record straight. And the first record I want to set straight is that Ruben Amorim is not the problem of Manchester United. I think we need to stop scapegoating. I just feel we need to stop scapegoating because it's as if we keep changing the names of who is the problem of Manchester United. Yet, when those people leave, the problem still remains. So I feel, first of all, we need to understand that Ruben Amorim is not the problem of Manchester United. Because I remember last season, as at the beginning of the season, when we were having issues under Erik ten Hag, Ruben Amorim was having a fantastic time in Sporting Lisbon. We've been having issues in this club for over going to 12 years now. And Ruben Amorim just joined 6 months ago or 8 months ago. So we need to first of all stop this blaming, stop this name calling, stop this scapegoating of changing. First was Erik ten Hag, now it's Ruben Amorim. Ruben Amorim is not the problem of Manchester United. I think it's very, very important to say that clear. It's not the problem. Now, and I feel the second thing about Ruben Amorim that I think I want to say first of all is that I've had people say last season was a very worst season, and clearly it was a worst season, very, very bad season because, Ruben Amorim, I think I saw some statistics of how that he has played, I think 29 games or so, or he has played more games than he has gotten more points. Yeah, I get that. But in my own analysis, I don't want to put that result or that statistic solely on Ruben Amorim. Because you need to understand, first of all, that look at what happened last season and then check throughout recent history of Manchester United and also look at where has this kind of thing happened. And what happened last season was we had a manager that was sacked, a manager that we also said on this podcast should not have been given a new contract or should not have been allowed to start the new season with Manchester United. But that was a mistake. We all make mistakes. And we sacked the manager. And after sacking the manager, we didn't bring a new manager in immediately. What we did was we had an interim manager. The interim manager took hold of some games. That's Ruben Nistelrooy. And after that, we brought in Ruben Amorim. Now, and everything went down south. Now, look at the last time this happened. We had that under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, where Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was sacked. And we had few games with Michael Carrick as interim. And then we brought in Ralf Rangnick. The season also went south. Yeah, I know that the season went south more under Amorim, but we can see comparisons to understand that having three personalities to coach a team within a season doesn't work well for Manchester United. At least in recent history, we can see that. And we saw how that under Ralf Rangnick, we're losing almost every game we played. Under Ruben Amorim also, we're losing almost every game we played, even though we finished lesser under Ruben Amorim. So I feel last season is not really a season you can actually judge. Because even the guy said it, I think based on the news, that he didn't want to come that moment. But the club was like, okay, just come. It wasn't the right conditions for a manager to make things work. That was last season. And football management is not magic. The same way everything in life doesn't happen by magic. I think first of all, it's important to set that record straight. That first of all, Ruben Amorim is not the problem of Manchester United. If you have that mindset, I think you need to just think about it. It's not, because funny enough, he will go and there's no assurance. If he goes, not say he will go. If he goes, there's no assurance that the problem gets solved, because it's not really the problem. He was outside of Manchester United when the problem existed. I think we should not forget that. Now, second point, I feel Manchester United fans do not really understand the mess that this club is in. I feel we just feel that the mess of Manchester United is just not getting results or not winning the title, not winning games. I feel we know. I know we know, but maybe we do not know the gravity or the extent of the mess. This club, based on everything we've seen, is a club that was dying. Literally dying. And I have a popular phrase that I usually say, the last place that we show that a club is dying is on the pitch. Everything in a football club, the end result of everything that is done in a football club is done on the pitch. The pitch is the revealer of the final result of what has been happening. If a club is successful, the last place you will see it is the pitch. If they get everything right in terms of recruitment, structure, and everything, the last place that will reflect it, the report card, is the pitch. If a club is dying, the last place that will reflect it is the pitch. And I felt past 10 years after Sir Alex Ferguson left and the decay that occurred in our recruitment, in the wastage financially and everything, we have seen the result on the pitch. Now, a new ownership came on board. You can have different opinions about them, but they've done some things to try and just make the structures work. And as there are certain things, obviously, we will see the result of that work also where on the pitch. The pitch is the final report card. So I feel we do not really understand that this club was in a mess. And the mess endured at least visibly for 10 years on the pitch. We didn't get to our normal standards. And also, I'm not saying we need 10 years to go back to our glory, but you have to understand that there is nowhere in the world of football where you start putting in structures and you win the league that same season. We need to be clear with ourselves. The Jurgen Klopp of Liverpool that we all praise, even Arteta in Arsenal, these things are not done. They are not done. It's not magic. It's not something that is done overnight. This thing takes time. And I know I'm not trying to be people come and so good. So you wait for 10 years now. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it doesn't work that quickly. It doesn't work after a manager has been there for 8 months. A club that had so much mess. A club that had players that did not want to play for the team. A club that had some bad recruitment in the years that is not even within the control of the current manager. A club that paid players so high a wage that now, after months of transfer, we can't still get one player to be sold for money. Yes, this is the mess. And to now feel that something just going to happen and everything is just going to just be nicer, I think that is delusional. It's not being realistic. And I think this is why I said I have to be brutally honest. And the goal is not to be liked. The goal is just to set the record straight. Now, I feel Amorim came in middle of the season, and we had the episode on the podcast where me and the guys were discussing. We're like, do you think it's the right choice for him to come middle of the season? He didn't want to come middle of the season, but the club said he had to come, and the result was clearly bad and everything. And I also was furious about some decisions he made in that. But I also understand he's bringing a new system middle of the season with already a very poor team, made the team poorer, clearly. And I said the best decision for me, if Amorim was not in Manchester United, the best decision would have been to come middle of the season. But Manchester United, and we are beginning to see that it's a team that the club, the legends, the media, the fans do not give us patience. They don't have patience. There's no patience in our blood. I don't know if it's an attempt because maybe we have too many fans or what. Everybody just feels it should happen quickly. There's not that patience. And we're beginning to see the pressure. We should not be there. We should not be there, obviously. And for me, looking at it, I feel it's the best decision that it came last season. And I feel you already know, clearly we can also see he knew the players he was not going to make use of. Players that did not have the right application, players that did not have the right motivation to play for the club, or players that felt they were doing us a favor by being the club. I've done episodes on this. But now I feel what Amorim did going into this new season is, first of all, the first plan of Ruben Amorim, on what I've analyzed, is to get a team that is committed. The first level, I keep saying it, the first level to winning any football match or to win any trophy is to get a squad of 21, 22 players that are committed to play the game and to play the game for the club. The wins is another level, but the first foundational level is get players that are committed, players that have their hearts together. And I feel, looking at the squad he has, I can clearly say this guy has a team that wants to play for the club. Obviously, looking at it, yeah, it's not a perfect squad. We've done top episodes on that. It's not a perfect squad. But clearly we can see he has the first base of saying, I want a team where the 22 players, 23 players in my squad are committed to the squad, are committed to the plan that we have. I think this is the first level. And every team that has won the league always starts from that base. Having a team that has the commitment to play the game for the manager, to play the game for the club. Now, secondly, Amorim now also did another thing, which is the second point that he did, in the sense of he went ahead, which is not a complete now, but he has gone ahead to get a new spine for this team. What is a spine? A spine is the most important. Any manager that comes to wants to start to build a squad looks for a new spine. The spine comprises of the goalkeeper, central defenders, the midfield, the central positions, the midfielders in terms of the 6, the 10s, and a striker. Now you can see what he did. He has gotten a new striker. That's a new spearhead of the spine. He has gotten 2 number 10s in Kuan Mbemu, who obviously improves us physically and also in technical aspects of things. He has gone ahead to their defenders in terms of Yoru was brought in at the end of last season. Delete was brought in at the end of last season. Who helps us? Everyone was brought in. That is a defensive 3 that were new. Mazarawi new, and then we're talking about getting Lemons, a new goalkeeper, and obviously we are still looking at how can we get a number 6 with the obvious choice being Baleba based on the quality that he has as compared to other available options. So the next step for him is to get a spine. These things don't happen overnight. And that's why I so much believe that sometimes we are so much, Man United fans are so much reactionary. I'm sorry, I think that's the truth. Man United fans we win today, oh, we are in heaven. We lose tomorrow, oh, we are in hell. It doesn't happen that way. It doesn't work that way. And this makes me to be reminded of the preseason period where we had some fairly good wins, fairly good play in the preseason. And I saw some United fans already say we're going to finish top 4, and I was just laughing. You don't really understand the mess this club is in. That's why you feel there are some few preseason games automatically means you are ready for the league. And I think I had arguments even with my party them here, and I was like, guys, I said it on one of our live shows on Friday that we have our live. I said it that the best we can finish this season is 8. Anything above 8 for Manchester United is a miracle. And I repeat that today again. Not because of the 2 games we have played, but because I know it doesn't happen overnight. And anybody that feels top 4, do you think the teams that are Newcastle, the likes of Arsenal, the likes of Chelsea, do you think they just woke up one morning and got to that level? Everybody had to bide their time. I remember the time Chelsea finished 12th, right? From there, I think they finished 6th or 8th, and then they came back. We have to be honest with ourselves. We have to be honest with ourselves. A few preseason games did not mean we're back. And if you thought we were back, okay, now reality, come, wake up now. Reality has done on us. Because you don't make a team to go from a team that finished 15th to a team that will finish top 4 in just a few preseason games. It doesn't work that way. And for me, it's so much shocking when I see people say if he doesn't finish top four, he has to be sacked. Like, I want to ask, are we doing banter or are we analyzing the game? Because if it's banter, I understand. It's banter. Okay, let's just have banter. You know? Let's just have banter. And I'm here some people say, oh, it's relegation this time. From the 2 games I've watched, from the preseason I've watched, which, yes, you cannot really judge because it's just few games, I don't think our play is a relegation team's play. Yeah, we don't hope or we don't pray that it degenerates to that. But at least we can see certain things in the game. I'm like, okay, I can see something here. There's prospect here. There are positives here. It's not a perfect team, and it will never be a perfect team. At least at this level. So I feel the preseason stuff really shows that we don't really grasp the mess this club was in, or this club is still in. That we think just a few preseason games against the likes of West Ham, the likes of Bournemouth, the likes of Leeds, we just take us from 15th to 4th. And so people are even looking at it that don't be surprised. We are not playing the what do you call it? The Champions League. We're not going to Europe, and we might just. Are we kidding ourselves? You don't build teams like that. Yes, anything can happen in football, but the reality is those things don't happen. Yeah, it can happen for cup competitions, but it doesn't really happen for the league. For you to win the league, there needs to be a level of mastery. Nobody wins the league by fluke. Nobody wins this league by fluke. You can't win. That's why the league is the most difficult competition in world football. The leagues are the most difficult this thing because you have to be consistent for at least a couple of maybe 8 months. You have to be consistent. You don't just win the league just anyhow. You don't win like cup competitions. You can get to the final when you are even 15th, but you can get to the Europa League final. It doesn't happen that way. You get found out because it's the league and you play with everybody, and it's more difficult. Now, I think the next thing I want to say is the formation, because I think I want to just address some things we've been saying and fans have been mentioning. Fans are saying 3-4-3 formation will not work. I don't think there's evidence for that. I don't think if we are being honest with ourselves, I feel the only evidence why it will not work is because you don't understand the formation. Or I just have to be brutally honest. I have to be brutally honest because, and I feel sometimes when we football fans, including myself, I'm also a victim of that. When we don't know something, we don't automatically believe it doesn't work. It will not work because not because it will not work, but because we don't understand it. Don't forget that. And we say 3-4-3 will not work. And I begin to see people. And I remember the time when in the world of football, I think in our group chat, I dropped something. I remember the time in the world of football where 4-4-2 was the predominant formation. Everybody played 4-4-2. 4-4-2 and different variations of 4-4-2, sometimes 4-5-1, depending on what you were doing then. And then 4-3-3 came up under Total Football by Johan Cruyff and the likes. And people criticized this formation. Now everybody plays 4-4-3. I mean 4-3-3, sorry, not 4-4-3. 4-3-3 in the world of football. And there's different variations like 4-2-3-1, different variations of 4-3-3. Now everybody plays that. And now we're beginning to see that some teams are literally now having their formation on paper as 3-4-3, some having it as 3-5-2, and people are saying it will not work because it has not worked in the Premier League. The fact is, how many managers have actually tried it in the Premier League consistently? And I think it's also very, very important to note to us that the formation you see on paper is not the formation teams actually use when they are playing. I think it's important for football fans to understand that when the team starts the game, a team could be playing, for example, let me use Manchester City or let me use Arsenal team. Arsenal team can be starting 4-3-3 on paper when they start the game. But on the ball, they are playing 3-5. On the ball, they are playing 3-5. 3 defenders building up, 2 centrally and 5 in front. Or different variations of it. It will be 3-2-3 or different variations of it. So the fact is that for most teams, they build up with 3 on the ball. And also for most teams, they take up, at least not for most teams, but a good number of teams off the ball, they do with 5. So for a lot of teams in the Premier League, when they are off the ball, they either do a 4-4-2 formation, or you see them do a 5-3-2 formation or a 5-2-3 formation off the ball. So we have passed the level where the paper formation is the be or end all. Teams take different shapes at different moments in a game. And when you say 3-4-3, my own understanding of 3-4-3 and what Amorim is trying to do is the idea of the 3-4-3 is to have overload at every level of the pitch. So, for example, the game of football is a game of 11 players, right? 10 outfield players and 1 goalkeeper. But the reality about football is that although it is 11v11, 10 outfield, 1 goalkeeper, in different phases of the game is not equal. I don't know if you get that. So it's 10v10 outfield players, 10 players outfield with a 1 goalkeeper for each team. But in different phases and in different positions of the game, they are not always equal there. Some teams, based on their tactics and their approach, always try to have numerical superiority at certain areas. This is football tactics. And so, that's what we call overload, right? And so you see teams set up in such a way where they can easily have overload in different phases of the play. So that's like the third man, what the famous Barcelona idea of the third man. You know, the third man pass, having an extra man at every phase of play. The triangle pass at every phase of play. Now, if most teams in the Premier League are using 4-3-3, sorry, I'm going to tactics, but let's just break a little bit. I don't have my body, but let's quickly go into a little bit. Where you have 4-3-3, that's where most teams, or different version of 4-3-3, that's what they use. And if off the ball, they have 5-2-3. That means now they are defending with 5. We're having 2 midfielders and 3 attackers, right? When Manchester United is building, the 3 attackers that are pressing, we have to face, or the 2 attackers that are pressing, whichever way the team is pressing, we have to face 3 defenders, right? If it's 2, that's 3, right? That means we have numerical superiority in building up. If it's 3, then it's 1v1 situation. Now, when you come to the midfield, most teams in the Premier League, off the ball, have 2 midfielders, some have 3. But with the introduction of the wing backs, with the 2 central midfielders, we can have 4. And also sometimes, depending on how we want to set up with the number 10s, we might even have an extra midfielder. So at basic level, you're having 4 people in the center of the park when the opponent is having 3 or having 2. When you go to the final phase of the game, we can actually have 5. It can be 5v5 or 5v4, depending on if you are doing a 4-4-2 formation. In the sense of you can have 5 attackers. Ahmad, Dogu, Mbeumo Kua, and Sesko. So I feel the 3-4-3 formation by Amorim, the way I've understood this so far, I keep learning about the formation. One of the major points why he uses that formation is to have numerical superiority at every phase of the play. But it's not a perfect situation because sometimes the midfield too get exposed. And I think we've seen it many times that they get exposed. And we've said it many times on the podcast that one way to attack that is by having athletic midfielders that can cover the ground. Another way to address that is by having the 2 10s press so well or be compact that teams don't have a way to just play through us. So there are a lot of things that we still need to, the players still need to understand, the coach still need to adjust to make it a perfect. Because I saw the preseason sometimes was in a 4-4-2 off the ball, where most of last season when he came was in a 5-3-2 or 5-2-3. So there are a lot of things that still need to work out. And I don't know, a lot of things that still need to work out. But you just come out and say that formation will not work because we've not seen it work. It's not actually correct. Because, for example, I have a question. When Guardiola was building up and was inverting defenders, do you think they were playing 4-3-3 when he was inverting the defender from the defense into the midfield? So if a player was inverted from the defense into the midfield, Doesn't that make it that it was three at the back? Or the time when Stones will push into the midfield, doesn't that still make it three? Doesn't that make that if there were three in the midfield before and somebody invert, doesn't that make it four? You know, or sometimes it could even be does a three, and maybe it could play people in front depending on the game and how you wanted to approach it. So the fact is that what is on paper is not what teams are actually using. Everybody uses three to build up nowadays. It's like a common thing in football. When you're on the ball, it's three. And so when you see Manchester United's game, you feel that it's almost like what everybody's doing that we're actually doing. So I don't want to spend much time on that. I know, yes, we need to the player needs to understand the system better. They need to adapt to it better. Yeah, I get that. But to say that system will not work, I feel we're not being genuine, because at a point people also said that about 4-3-3, and now almost everybody in the world of football is using 4-3-3 or some variations of 4-3-3. So next thing I would say is the issue of Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes playing in deeper room. I think I gave my opinions on Bruno Fernandes, and I did an episode where I said Bruno Fernandes has to evolve. And I think some people came out and say, no, Bruno is just a number 10. Bruno should leave the team. I feel Bruno is one of the most intelligent players we have in our squad. I think it's clear. One of the most, if not the most intelligent player in our squad. I feel what Bruno Fernandes gives us, it's not about him leaving. It's about how do you replace him. And I think one of the mistakes I have made is publicly coming out to say, and I'm not ashamed to say it because it was a big mistake and I own up to my mistakes, when I was like, oh, De Gea should go, let's get in a ball-playing goalkeeper. Yes, De Gea had some obvious deficiencies in his game. But the fact is, just letting him go is not the issue. That's the easy part. The next part is who replaces him. I think it's very, very important for us to ask ourselves that question. Who replaces Bruno Fernandes when he leaves? I think it's just like someone that is married and has maybe a spouse that does, let's say, 70% of the things right, but has 30% things that are bad, and says, because of this 30%, I'm going to let this person go. I'm looking for the person that has 100% of what I want. And then you now go to the market, or you go to start dating, and you get someone that only has 30%. Or someone that even has lesser than that 30%. And you end up losing the 70% that somebody had before. I feel that's what happened under David De Gea and Andre Onana. We lost someone that had the natural ability to help us to win points. And yes, you can agree if it was a good decision to let him go. The fact is, we did not replace him well. That's why I feel the question, if we feel Bruno Fernandes should go, it's an opinion. We respect the opinion. But the fact is, with what Bruno Fernandes does for that team, if you think Bruno is just all about losing the ball, then you don't really understand what's going on, really. And I'm sorry to say this. Yes, there are obvious deficiencies in this game, which I think we've addressed. Sometimes I've come here to shout on Bruno, keep the ball down, stop complaining. I've said those things. But the fact is, if you let him go to Saudi, let's get the 100 million. Who replaces him? Can you be patient enough with the person that's coming to replace him? Do you think the person has that intelligence up to Bruno Fernandes? These are questions we need to ask. I'm not against you saying you should let him go. If the club decides to let him go, good and fine. We'll support the next person that comes. But let's not be a case of, I don't know. We have to be very honest ourselves. And I believe for Bruno Fernandes, we all can see the deficiencies in his game. The too much complaining, too much concentration concentrated about things that are happening instead of focusing on his game. We've said it many times here. And I believe he also needs to make amends. He also needs to be calmer on the ball. I know many times Bruno sometimes is also a victim of what we've had to face as a team in recent years. I think I said it in one of the episodes where I felt Ole destroyed Bruno in a way. But also I think I can see this also, that Bruno being the creative hub of our team for years has made him to develop certain habits that would not be permitted in a well-structured side. For example, I remember one interview that Kevin De Bruyne did where he said Bruno plays it too risky a lot. And I agree. Who am I to disagree with Kevin De Bruyne? But I think it's quite clear. He plays it risky. And because We are not a well-structured team then, and anytime we receive the ball, we had Bruno to just we just needed Bruno to just play it risky for us to get goals. We're not a good side. We didn't control the game better. And now that we want to move towards being a better side on the ball, be a better side controlling the game, I feel Bruno needs to let go of those quick balls and control the game better. But also for him to control the game better, I feel he needs to be told, or he needs to understand, that the creative burden on this team is not on you as much as before. Players like Kunwa, players like Mbeumo, players like Ahmad, players like Dogu should pick up responsibility. Players like Mason Mount should pick up the responsibility of being creative for this club and let Bruno focus on creating the tempo, because I actually believe he can do it. Before enough, even before Amorim started using Bruno in the deeper role, I have been saying it. You can check our videos before that I really believe Bruno can play as a deeper midfielder. I really believe it. Now, clearly, I might be wrong. But when I look at Bruno, I'm like, if I was a manager, I would try him in that deeper role. I've always said it before. I see the qualities there. But yes, I understand that he needs to be more composed on the ball. He needs to use his brain more. He needs to stop complaining. I understand those things. But you just come out and say, he's the problem. It's not our problem. Yes, there are deficiencies in the game, but it's not our problem. He will leave. The problem will still remain. We've had many players leave the club. Oh, this was our problem. They left. Are we still not having the same problem? Oh, David De Gea is one of our problems. Didn't he leave? Let's be honest with ourselves. Let's stop scapegoating and be brutally honest. And I feel that we need to be honest with ourselves. And I think another thing I have come to see, because I want to just address a lot of these things I'm seeing and give my opinion on them. You might agree, you might disagree. Is the fact that they said Ahmad playing wing back. That how would Ahmad be playing wing back and everything? And I'm like, I for one do not really like the idea of Ahmad playing wing back. But I understand that when I saw some games in the preseason where he played wing back and the way he has the ability to arrive and is creative, I feel we need to have the ball more as a team to see the beauty of Ahmad playing wing back and playing with Mbeumo. Yes, I know that understanding between Mbeumo and Ahmad is not yet there, but I feel, and I think one of the episodes I did during the preseason, I said it that if Man United doesn't have the ball as much as we would like to have it, there will be no sense in Ahmad playing wing back. It just looks defeated, like a talented player having to go down the line and defending. So for us to see that beauty, we need to have more of the ball. Yeah, I agree with that. We need to have more of the ball. And I think that's what we need to do as a team. Keep the ball. I keep saying it, keep the ball. And then the beauty of this corner ball. But to see Ahmad as a wing back, yeah, I know he's not going to play wing back all the games. There's some games where you put him in number 10. But I think with the system and looking at what Ruben Amorim did with Giovanni Quenda at Sporting Lisbon, who ended up being one of the best players, that Chelsea later bought, and I think they're going to get him at a later time. I see the sense that when you have the ball and when Ahmad arrives, centrally, because I saw some things like that in the preseason, I feel it to be amazing. But the goal about it, I said also, when we don't have the ball, it doesn't look like it's a sensible thing. Or when we don't have much of the ball, it doesn't look like a sensible thing. And that's why I see when we have the bigger teams, Ahmad most likely doesn't start or plays another different position than the wing back, because it doesn't really make so much sense. So I think the last thing I would say is the pressure from the fans, the legends. I think we just have to be patient, really. Rome was not built in a day, as is commonly said. And I feel that 2 games into the season, yes, I understand Manchester United fans. I understand that we have the desire, the passion. We want to get back to our winning ways. But we also have to be realistic. It doesn't happen overnight. And sometimes we have to be patient with people. I don't think we've given them money in time, really, because as I said earlier, that last season, you can't really say it's his fault. Yes, he could have savaged it. It shouldn't have been as worse as that. But the fact is that we had to let go of a manager that same season. This guy did not have a preseason, had to bring a new system. But let's just assume that season was just an IT, for people that in Nigeria, just an IT. Let him just understand what is going on in the team, and let's not look at this season. And one of the things I'm very excited about this season is because, and I think my United fan, when I said it, people came for me when I said I didn't want us to go to Europe, I didn't want us to win the Europa League because I felt going to the Champions League was just a commercial stuff for us. We just needed to sit back home and just train, and I believe we get to do that this season. Let this man have time with the squad, train the team, and I hope it works. And if it doesn't work, I will still be the same person to come out to say this is why it did not work. But for me to come out now and say 2 games into the season and say, let's sack him. 5 games after, I saw one quote from one of the legends that if he doesn't win the next 5 games, we start sacking him. I'm like, calm down. Even the person that said it did not have a successful footballing career as a manager. Managerial career. Calm down. I feel we have to calm down. I feel we and this is the same legend that said that after the first game, I can see us finishing 5th. Calm down. We are too reactionary. Funny enough, now if we go 3 games straight to win, we are back. We are not back. Calm down. We just won 3 games. I think we have to just be calm. Whether we win, stay calm. Whether we lose, stay calm. Trust the process. Let's support the manager. It's not heaven when we win. It's not hell when we lose. Let's stay calm. I know you say, other teams are winning. Really? Are we on the same timeline with them? Really? If you want to be honest with ourselves, look at those teams. Some of them even won without actually playing well. When we watch the game, we analyze those games. But I'm not going to talk about that clubs. I'm just trying to say is let's be patient, let's be calm. I understand. I understand if it's banter. Banter. I think anything goes. But I think if you are being honest with ourselves and if we are being analytical, it doesn't make sense to say, it's not going to work. Because deep down, you hope it doesn't work so they can see how I was right. I don't think. Let's just be calm. So, guys, I know I try to be brutally honest. Some things I want to say, I didn't want to say just so I will not offend a lot of people. But I think I said what is very, very important to say. Let's be calm. Let's not look at everything as doomsday. Yes, it's just 2 games. We keep analyzing as the game goes on. But I think what I clearly like in this team, from what I've seen from the 2 games, is the desire and the passion to want to play the game. Yes, it's not good to all be perfect. You know, we played quite all right in the first half against Fulham. We played throughout against Arsenal. We had a very poor second half, especially after the goal. We didn't do the necessary we needed to do. We analyzed that. I think they will learn from that. They will improve. Let's support this team. Let's not put that crazy pressure on the team. You know, the media should not focus on us so much. Focus on Arsenal. Arsenal has been there for many years. They don't want anything. 6 years, Arteta nothing. And Arteta looks like a magician coming out to say we keep digging. But somebody is I understand my United is a different animal, but let's just be calm. So guys, these are my opinions on the current happenings at Manchester United, and this is my brutally honest assessment of it. So guys, let me have your opinions. I know you're not going to agree with everything I've said, so you can come. Let's have that discussion. It's very, very important for our club, for this our what we love. So comment in the comment section, and please don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and most importantly, don't forget to share. I'll see you next time.